from the News Channel 5 Network and the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. This is State of the Workforce.
And welcome to State of the Workforce. I'm Chris Cannon. In November, we celebrate apprenticeships. National Apprenticeship Week is in November, and here in Tennessee, we go all out and we expanded to a month-long celebration. We'll tell you how we're marking this big month coming up. But first, we have a workforce update. GovCon is a storied and always anticipated yearly event hosted by the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. It brings together state and local leaders and employers from across Tennessee. And in this current job market, you can't have economic development without workforce development. So for the first time, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development partnered with Economic and Community Development for GovCon 2024. Last month in Knoxville, we took over the convention center for informative breakout sessions. And of course, everyone had a chance to hear from Governor Bill Lee. And this was a record-breaking event. More than 750 attendees traveled to Knoxville for GovCon. It's the largest group of attendees ever, and they represented 92 of 95 counties here in Tennessee. Now we have a workforce focus for you, and that's the tradition of apprenticeships. It's a tried and true form of workforce development, and Brandon Phinx is the Middle Tennessee Apprenticeship Director for Apprenticeship TN, and he joins us today. And Brandon, tell us a little bit about apprentices and apprenticeships and why it's such a good method for workforce development.
Yeah, apprenticeship is basically a program that trains you in a skilled trade profession or trade. And a apprenticeship is apprentice program. As apprentice is a person that is going to be trained through on-the-job training and a skilled technical instruction, classroom instruction.
And as we said, it's been around forever. You know, I think my father was an apprentice, but in manufacturing. But these days, it can really be any type of occupation that can be an apprenticeship. That's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. We have many different occupations through many industries, IT, healthcare. We have a handyman occupation. We have a cosmetology occupation. So there's many occupations in apprenticeship.
What are the core components of an apprenticeship? What is the apprentice doing and the employer? What are the core components there?
Some of the core components is a skill instruction, on-the-job training. The biggest component we like to tell all our employers is employer driven. And then one of the major ones is a classroom instruction, and then an employer driven instruction. And then also, you can also do the rewards for skills gains, which is a wage progression. There's mentorship, and then there's also a national occupational credential, which is a certificate of completion.
And this is a work and learn while you earn method. So you're on the job, you're working, you're learning, but you're also getting paid, and that's the key component of apprenticeship here. Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that we like to tell is earn and you learn. So we have plenty of apprentices that go through. You cannot have an apprenticeship program without earning and learning. We have related technical instruction, which is that classroom instruction, and then we also have the structured on-the-job training.
So in Middle Tennessee, you are the Apprenticeship Director for Apprenticeship TN.
I am.
What's your day-to-day business look like here? What are you out there doing and drumming up support for these programs?
Well, there's many things, but I can kind of drill it down to a few. The biggest thing that we do is outreach. We reach out to a lot of employers and tell them about the apprenticeship program, give them awareness about what the state can offer as far as apprenticeship is concerned. And then also on top of that, we offer a lot of technical instruction with our already registered programs to give them that kind of extra help that they would need maybe to navigate the website that they need to go to. And then also, we also like to give a lot of the registering. We do the documents of registration of the product, which is from the related technical instruction with the on-the-job training. All those documents we have all structured together, and we help the employer register those.
So if you were going to have a registered apprenticeship program, what's the first thing an employer would need to do? Is that reach out to you? And I know there's some technical things that have to happen first.
Yes, they can reach out to me. They can go to our American Job Center, get information from there. We also have it on our website as well, apprenticeship.com.
So what is your elevator pitch? You have a minute to talk to an employer, and you want to kind of convince them that, hey, this is a really tried and true way to go through workforce development and build your talent pipeline. What does that pitch?
You just said it there. I like to first go with, if you're looking to build a consistent talent pipeline, I like to tell them this is the best way to go. Studies show for every dollar that a employer spends on an apprenticeship program, there's a $1.47 return on investment. And if you're looking for a way to get a return on your investment with the retention, enhanced workplace safety, this is probably the best way to go.
Now, Apprenticeship TN, or the Office of Apprenticeship, is housed within the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, but we're a state agency, apprenticeship agency, and not all states are like that. And how does that benefit employers here in Tennessee that we have that ability?
Yes, when we became a state apprenticeship agency in 2022, we were able to register programs and then also approve the programs that were registered through our state director. Not all states have that ability. You have to be a state apprenticeship agency to do that.
So that kind of takes the federal arm of it out and speeds up the process.
Yes, and we're able to work directly with our employers.
What are some of the common myths out there about apprenticeships that you face on a day-to-day basis?
The biggest one I would say is that it's for just the skilled trades or the big industry, Fortune 500 companies and things like that, and that's not true at all. You can have a mom and pop apprenticeship, or you can have up into a big Fortune 500 company. We cross the gambit on how much apprenticeship we can do.
And it can be just a few apprentices, or you can have a whole class of apprentices. That doesn't really matter.
It does not matter at all. I just registered a company that just has 2 apprentices. So yeah.
Tell me a little bit about being an apprentice, and what kind of time commitment we're talking about here.
It just depends on the employer itself. So you can have a 1-year program, you can have a 2-year program. We have some programs up to 5 and 6 years. So it really just depends on what occupation that the employer wants to register and the apprentices and the time they can invest into the apprentices.
So how do you link them up? How do you link an employer with someone who wants to be an apprentice? Or are you doing some of that recruiting, or is the employer out there doing it?
It's a combination. I'm not really doing the linking up of the apprentices to the employers, but the employers can use their registered apprenticeship program as a recruitment technique to bring in those apprentices. But also, we can use the American Job Centers. They have access to us as well, and they can go in whenever there's an apprentice that's looking for an apprenticeship. They can go into American Job Centers and reach out to us as well.
Do you walk hand in hand with the employer through that whole process? The registration process and making sure it's an actual registered apprenticeship program, which is important.
Yes, we like to tell employers that we are their back office. So it's employer driven. So we let them work their way through the whole program. We just give them guidance as to what's the compliance and what needs to be done as far as the apprenticeship is concerned. So they drive the show. We just like to help them out along the way.
And we have a lot of apprentices here in Tennessee. The highest number that we've ever had in the state, it's probably approaching something like 8,000 right now, right?
Yeah, we actually just hit a mile marker of 9,500 apprentices that we just hit last week, actually.
So that's great news there. Well, Brandon, you stay there, because when we come back, we'll find out how apprenticeships are not just for working age adults. Teenagers can be apprentices too. When we come back, we'll go to Komatsu in Chattanooga to show you how they're growing their workforce through the Pre-Apprenticeship program. This is State of the Workforce. And welcome back. Pre-apprenticeship programs take learning from the classroom to the job site. The program gives teenagers an early look at an occupation while they're still in high school. Komatsu in Chattanooga is leading the way in Tennessee in championing this workforce development tool. For 3 decades, workers at Komatsu in Chattanooga have taken on the task of building excavators. But for the last few years, finding a qualified workforce has been the hardest part of the job around here.
It's been really tough to find people with manufacturing experience and bring them into a place like this and continue to maintain safety and quality.
After 36 years of success, managers at Komatsu decided they needed to take a different approach to remain successful.
We knew that we were going to have to change the way we thought about hiring and recruiting people.
One way, changing the mindset of the next generation of workers while they're still in high school. This is the first class of Komatsu's pre-apprenticeship program.
They're going to be doing the work, and they're going to recognize what our people do on a daily basis. It's going to give them some real-world experience.
The pre-apprenticeship program will allow these students to learn lessons they can't get in the classroom.
Welding is what I want to get into for my career. That's what I like to do. I hope to learn basically all the necessities I do not have now.
This program is going to help me get experience in the field of welding and the actual field outside of a school.
The Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development worked with Komatsu to not only start the program, but also to do it safely. Success here will look different for everyone involved. The pre-apprentices will have options at the end to stay with Komatsu, go on to a trade school, or even college. But it's not just the students who are learning here.
And I hope that we can help open those doors for our other facilities and other companies to say, hey, here, it can be done. And here's a roadmap. Here's what we learned along the way.
It's a new way to teach a new generation and possibly change the mindset about careers in manufacturing. And Brandon is back now to tell us about pre-apprenticeship programs, and I'm still learning this one here. So what is the difference between a pre-apprenticeship and a registered apprenticeship program?
So basically a pre-apprenticeship program prepares the apprentice for an apprenticeship program, while the apprenticeship program is basically a structured program that kind of is where the apprentices is mastering their skills. So a pre-apprenticeship just prepares them for that apprenticeship. That makes sense. Now I understand it.
So what are the benefits of a young person who's still in high school, a junior or senior, getting into some type of job sector, and doing a pre-apprenticeship? What benefits are they going to take away from that?
Well, we work with a lot of CTUs, career technical schools, and a lot of times some of those schools have what they can earn 16 credits towards a college curriculum if they go to a pre-apprenticeship program. Also, there's also, as you saw in the clip, that they're getting real work-based learning, real-world experience. So that's one of the biggest benefits.
So is a pre-apprenticeship that learn while you earn model, are they still getting some money? Sometimes it depends.
So you can be paid or unpaid in a pre-apprenticeship. It just depends on the employer and what the employer has worked out with that school or those apprentices. So you can do either or with that.
But the experience they're taking away from there is invaluable.
Yes, sir, it is.
What about the employer? Employer wants, they have apprenticeship programs, but why do a pre-apprenticeship program? What benefit are they going to get from that?
I would say the biggest benefit is starting a talent pipeline early. I think what we're learning in a lot of these programs that they're finding that their workforce is running out pretty early on in their program. So building that pipeline early on while those students are in high school is giving them that steady flow coming into their program.
Does it have the rigors of a registered apprenticeship program as far as setting it up and things like that, or is this something that a school district can work with a big employer like Komatsu and start something up like this?
Easily. It's not as rigorous as our apprenticeship program, but they can work directly with their employer to set it up.
And what if the employer has questions of, having a 16, 17, 18-year-old or under 18 working on the floor of a factory? I mean, there probably are some insurance and logistical things there. Can the state come in and help there as well?
Yes, we definitely can. We can put them in contact with our Department of Education, the work-based learning sector. And then we also can have them work with our workplace regulations and compliance agency in our department.
So it's a lot easier to go in on the front end and say, hey, this might not be good, this is good, you can do this, they can't do this, than maybe just doing it and not asking for that consultation.
Exactly, and they can give them all the guidance they would need for that.
Tell me a little bit more about the pre-apprenticeship programs, the employers. Is there a database for that, or is it really kind of just specialized from an area that has an employer that wants to do something like this, or do they work together with those districts?
Yeah, so with a pre-apprenticeship, you have to have a registered apprenticeship program before you can even start a pre-apprenticeship.
Okay.
So yes, it will be specialized to the occupation, and they work with those schools to kind of set that up, whatever that is. And a lot of times those CTE schools can tailor their curriculum to kind of match what the employer needs.
And how do we get the word out about that that's something that they can take advantage of? I'm sure a lot of people know about the apprenticeship programs and being a registered program, but is a pre-apprentice something you need to get the word out more about?
Yeah, I think so. I think that is a vital part of workforce development. I think getting that word out through our employers, through outreach that we're doing when we're speaking with our employers, we're telling them about our elevated pitch that you mentioned earlier. We're telling them about our pre-apprenticeship programs and how beneficial it will be to their company.
And November, as we mentioned at the top of the show, is National Apprenticeship Week, falls within November. And the department is having conferences in each area, East, Middle, and West Tennessee. So if you want to learn out more about that, you can go to our website there. It's apprenticeshiptn.com, and they'll have those dates and times and locations for them. But it is National Apprenticeship Week, and it is always a big week here in Tennessee, and we're making it even bigger this year as we expand it to a month-long celebration for Tennessee, because we really want to get the word out about apprentices. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate all the insight you provided.
Thank you for having me.
Well, still ahead, you can have a registered apprenticeship program if you don't have employers willing to take a chance on this earn and learn model. When we come back, we'll take you to Sumner County, where an employer there is filling its talent pipeline with apprentices. We'll be right back. And Larry Dickens is the training manager for North American Stamping Group, which is headquartered in Portland and has a very robust apprenticeship program. But before we get to your program, let's talk more about your company and what you do and where locations, in multiple locations in Tennessee.
Okay, well, thanks, Chris, for having me here today. We are North American Stamping Group, and we have about 12 manufacturing facilities all throughout Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. We have 2 in Canada. We have about 8 in the U.S. and 2 in Mexico. We're an automotive stamper. We're a Tier 2 stamper. That means we work for the Tier 1s, who then in turn work for the OEMs. We do work for all of the major OEMs, but we do it through the Tier 1s. In other words, we do stamped parts and subcomponents or sub-assemblies, and then the Tier 1s create the assembly that makes the car. So that's
and here in Tennessee, that's big business, because we make a lot of cars here.
Very big business, yes.
As far as apprenticeships go, and you're the training manager, from your eyes, why are apprenticeship programs so good?
Well, the first thing is it's the oldest form of training workers that there is, and what makes them so good is that you have experienced workers teaching your new workers the trade or the job, whatever that job might be, and the jobs are many these days that they train for. But I guess the best thing that they get is they get a well-rounded education, something that even the school systems can't give. They can give one part, but we can give it all.
So what led North American Stamping Group into the apprenticeship realm and starting that first program?
Well, the company has had an apprenticeship for many years. It wasn't always the best type of apprenticeship. At that time, you had someone, maybe you sent them to one of the local VOTEC schools, and then you had them on the role as employed as an apprentice for about 4 years, and at the end you said you're an apprentice. But we actually dealt with a consulting company, and that consulting company told us that if we were going to thrive as a business or as a company, that we would have to do several things. And one of the things that we had to do was we were going to have to grow our own, say, tool and die makers, and grow our own skilled labor. And with that information, we set out to build and create a very not complex, but a very in-depth program.
So do you find the retention is there, that once you have somebody start as an apprentice, whenever that apprenticeship's over, they're staying with your company and having less turnover?
Absolutely. That is something that we see. That is a benefit that is kind of unknown to a certain degree, but we find that those people that we invest in, those people that we train, stay with us, and they have a loyalty that we don't see in other employees or in other ways of hiring or.
Because by the time they could go and get a job somewhere else, they've probably been with you 2-3 years, and they're part of the work family there, so they want to stay. And you've proven yourself as an employer, and they've proven themselves as an employee. So.
Absolutely, yes.
Is it difficult to set up an apprenticeship program?
It can be a little tedious. The thing that makes it different is I'm not a professional educator. I'm not, and people like me aren't that, and we don't use the same words and the same terms. And as you're probably well aware of, the government doesn't make anything easy when it comes to paperwork. So
lots of words.
Lots of words. Lots of words. I think you'd be better off to be a lawyer. So I guess some of the things that make it difficult are some of the hoops you might need to jump through. But I will say this, in Tennessee, we're very lucky. The Office of Apprenticeship in Tennessee, through our Labor and Workforce Development, is amazing. They reached out to me in 2022. Charlene Russell reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm your new apprenticeship director. What can I do for you?" And so they help you with your charter. They help you with your registration. They're there to answer. They'll answer the phone. It's not something that you're on forever on hold, or that you don't get an answer back. So they're very, very helpful.
So you're not out there on your own. They're there to work you through the process.
Absolutely. And not that the federal government wasn't, because we worked with them for some time before the state took over, but they're stretched way thinner. They only had one man for the whole state, whereas Tennessee divides it up into the 3 grand divisions, but also even beyond that, I think they divided up in different sections. One person might have help you more with a pre-apprenticeship.
So the help is there for you.
It's just there for you.
Have there been any unexpected results that you didn't anticipate an apprenticeship program helping, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a really great benefit?
Yes, we mentioned one, and that's the loyalty that comes with the apprentice. I guess we didn't quite expect that it would be that effective, that they would stay with you, and that they would want to stay with you. So that has been very good. One of the other things is I think we get a higher caliber of person apply because it is a registered apprenticeship program, and because there's something in it for them. And that something in it for them is that they get a certificate that they can use anywhere in the United States. They can take that and get a job at any manufacturing plant or any company anywhere. Whereas if they just had that job experience, that might not be the case, but with that certificate, it helps them, and by token helps us as an employer.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's good to see that it's so successful and continues to be so successful. Larry, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chris.
And that is the state of Tennessee's workforce. Thanks for joining us today. To learn more about registered apprenticeship programs and the many other business services the state offers at no cost, head over to tnworkready.com. And of course, you can find the department on all the social media platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on State of the Workforce.